collaboration where we can revolutionize how we operate as a country. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, and we move to the next candidate, Nancy. Nancy Mwadime, you get the opportunity to tell Nairobians who you are and what your vision for the city is. You have 2 minutes.
My name is Nancy Mwadime, a girl who was born in Murang'a and grew up, went to school to Murang'a, Mugwiri Girls, and later went to school in Senior Chief Koinange, and thereafter I went to India for further studies. And as I stand here, I want to stand for many of us who grow up in up country, then they come to Nairobi, they work in Nairobi, they do business in Nairobi, and they make Nairobi a home for them. And I want to encourage many of us that when the time comes for political leadership, you should not be going back to the village, but you should stay here and make Nairobi a better place. So as I said, I'm Nancy Wamboi. I stand with Usawa Party kwa Wote. Usawa Party kwa Wote is a party for all, from up to down. And we stand for the family to make sure that we make Nairobi a place where we can call our home for all of us. We stand for each and every Nairobians, and we want to say that it's the right for every Nairobian to eat. It's right for every Nairobian to have water. And therefore, I want to say, when I become the governor of Nairobi, I would want to make Nairobi a home for all of us who are here, who are born here, or those who grew up in a country, they came to Nairobi, they made Nairobi their home. I've been here for 30 years. Currently, I'm in business, and I've been in business for the last 15 years. And for the years I've been in business, I can understand as a business person. A businesswoman present an employer, present a mother, and present a Nairobian. And when I stand here, I would want to say that I am presenting the whole group from the employer so that we can make Nairobi a home for all of us.
Thank you. And I take note that your time is up. Before we proceed, you can feel comfortable in adjusting your mics according to your heights, and we thank you. Kenneth Nyamwamu of the United Progressive Alliance Party, what are your key priority areas for county number 47?
Thank you. First thing that I want to do is I want to make Nairobi business friendly. I feel we have a lot of hardworking business people in Nairobi, but sometimes we are never kind to the business. Instead of supporting our businesses, we fight our businesses. So my biggest priority is to make Nairobi business friendly. And one of the things that I want to do to make Nairobi business friendly is to slice all business licenses by 50%. I also, on my plan, I want to provide electricity and water in all the informal sectors. They actively contribute to the economy of Nairobi, and they should be able to get basic services like water and electricity and sewerage systems. The other thing I would like to do when I become governor is to create a county-wide app that will be used by all border borders to create efficiency so that the border borders can operate efficiently, and also to give them safety. We talk about this issue of border borders, but we dance around it, but nobody concretely put solutions in place. So my main aim will be to create a county-wide app, a county-wide, not country, county-wide app that would, sort of like an Uber system kind of an app, so that the person, it caters for the safety of the border and the rider that they're carrying. The other thing is to improve service delivery to all sectors in Nairobi, and especially the informal sectors. We need to have a system in garbage collection. We need to have a system in fire department, the fire department that works. We need to promote our youth in sports and their talents. And also, my other thing is to create an efficient, affordable, and public system
your time is
so
up.
that our people can use. Thank you.
Thank you. Your time is up. And You said something that I'd just like to pick up with you as we move into the second question. Do you know that in the last financial year, Nairobi's own source revenue was 10 billion shillings? This is against a target of 16.5 billion shillings.
Yes.
How do you seek to bridge the gap of 6 billion shillings if one of your priorities is to slash the business licenses fees by up to 50%?
So, the argument behind that is when people start businesses in Nairobi, number one, the average life of a business in Nairobi is 3.5 years, which is very sad. Two, when they start a business, they pay all their licenses up front because they have to pay licenses before they start the business. But after that, nobody is able to renew because the rent is very high, the cost of doing business is very high. So you get that a lot of people are not really paying their business licenses. So instead of charging them expensively, why don't we slice the licenses by half and increase the pool of the revenue reception?
How do you seek to bridge the gap of 6 billion? That is the question.
Well, you asked it in reference to me slicing the business licenses. So that's how I'm answering and saying, if we increase the pool of people, who are paying these licenses, then we'll have the 6 billion. But if we don't, then, we have money getting lost through the enforcement where they go and they harass our business.
Thank you so much. Your time is up.
Thank you so much. And I come to Herman. When you talk about finances, they are key because under the devolved system of governance, funds do follow functions. And according to the Commission of Revenue Allocation 2019, the county can easily collect 78 billion Kenya shillings potentially, but only manage 11 billion. I mean, this is a big loophole. How will you seal it?
So I think we need to reflect on how there are many revenue streams that do come to us in Nairobi County. It's a question of, is that 10 billion an actual figure? Or is the actual figure a lot higher and a lot is lost? So I think something we need to concentrate on is regulating the corruption that does take place. And this is why a huge part of my manifesto dictates how we should digitize the payments coming to Nairobi County Council. There should be no point where we're receiving cash for any payments because it's very difficult to track cash payments. Also, I spoke on how we need to have better revenue generation streams for Nairobi County. Business permits aren't the only way we can generate money as a county. Something that has frustrated me is that if you look at Kenya's parastatals, a lot of them have struggled to raise revenue for the government operations. And I feel that also if we tap into parastatals and we create new parastatals in Kenya, we can generate revenue. Like something I pushed for was creating the biggest call center in Africa in Kenya. And that's something that we can also provide jobs for a lot of Kenyans because the minimum wage in that call center would be about 20,000 per month. So I feel like we should concentrate on reducing corruption and regulating the operation of parastatals and bringing in new parastatals into Nairobi. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we move to you, Nancy Mwadime. You spoke very passionately about making Nairobi a home. And that was part of what you wanted to do if elected governor on the 9th of August. I want to understand from you how you seek to bridge the gap of how much money Nairobi generates vis-a-vis what it potentially can generate.
How to make Nairobi a better home. And the first thing we need to do is take care of the business people to make sure that they're able to do their business without any harassment. And especially, I'll give an example of the hawkers. The hawkers, they go in the evening to do the hawking business. So when I'm the governor, I'll make sure that the hawkers are not harassed. In the evening from 5 p.m., we'll have some roads closed and allow the hawkers to do their business without any harassment. On the other hand, we'll also take care of the business sector, like the industry. We shall have dialogue with the business owners, and we see how we can improve the business or how we can make their work easier. On the other hand, we'll also work together with the industry owners to see how we can engage or how we can put some of our unemployed people into work for those industries. And apart from that, I'm also going to make sure that there is water. Water distribution is taken care of. Because when we have water, we can encourage the Nairobi people even to do the family farming or the balcony farming. So with that, we are able to get some food available.
Your time is up, but I'll add you 30 seconds just to come clear on something. You said you're going to work on making sure that hawkers are not harassed. And you know that some hawkers operate without the necessary requirements. Some dodge, the procedures that they ought to be going through to be able to operate a business lawfully within Nairobi. How are you seeking to make sure that they are not harassed, yet a big percentage of them operate without the licenses that are required, without paying any dues to the county? How are you planning to make this organized?
I do believe with dialogue, everything is possible. I'll have dialogue with hawkers, and we see how we can stay together in the city of Nairobi, how they can do their businesses and they make money, they support their families, and how we can also charge a little fee which is affordable for them.
Okay, thank you for your time. I come to you, Esther Waringa Thairo. On governance, it has underneath a lot of thematic areas, and the question of corruption comes up when you mention money in the city of Nairobi, and it seems endemic. What will be your approach?
Well, with corruption, I know it's an issue that is big. I'm looking at, when I become a governor, I'll be in partnership with some bodies like DCI, EACC, where anybody who is employed, before they get the employment, they are vetted, and they should be people of integrity. I'm also looking at cutting down the loopholes of cartels. The cartels that are done that affect this city. One, we know that in the lands, Ministry of Land, land issue, it's an issue, especially when it comes to land that is allocated to the county. I would also look at the functions of what is happening, especially with the land in leasing, because most of the land's lease expires in 99 years, and we find that there are some places that they don't pay. They don't pay any lease because the leases were not renewed. So there are several things that I would look at in terms of closing those gaps of corruption and working towards making this city a city that is corruption-free.
Okay, I add you 30 seconds before my colleague comes in with the next question to the next candidate. And you have mentioned cartels. Seems this is a cliche. Who are they by definition?
Cartels are managed by people who are just those people we have elected, because they have mechanism of owning most of the businesses around. The local businesses are owned by people who are in power. So the cartels fall there. So if there is any tender or there is any garbage collection, you find that those companies are not owned by the local person. They are owned by people who are already in positions.
Your time's up. I come to Kenneth Nyamwamu, and this is very important because when we talk about finances, these are the taxes the Kenyan people pay, and they expect services, including not only Nairobi, but across the 47 devolved units in the country. Do you understand the regulations and the finance management in terms of managing the resources in Nairobi County?
The answer is yes, I do. If I may get you correctly, you're trying to ask me if we understand the way to manage finances?
Correct.
I know, I do, because I am a business owner, and I've run my business successfully for the last 2 years. So I understand how to manage finances, how to pay people on time, which the city of Nairobi needs to learn how to pay people on time and not be holding salaries for 3-6 months until people go to the streets. The city of Nairobi also needs to learn how to pay their bills on time. The other day I passed City Hall, and the whole City Hall didn't have electricity. So We need to get there so that we can pay our bills on time, pay our people on time, and ensure that revenue is collected in an efficient manner, a manner that's free of harassment from the people. In my administration, I am going to eliminate any form of the City Hall askaris arresting people in terms of people who are trying to eke a living. I think it's wrong to criminalize somebody trying to eke a living, whether they are saying on the street corner or not. We just need to get a place for them to do their business.
And your time is up. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much for that. Now we move to the next topic that we wanted to interrogate you on. And at this particular point, we assume that now that you want to be the county top boss, you know what are the requirements under the Chapter 6 of the Constitution on Leadership and Integrity. Most of you, in your opening remarks, and even while responding to the questions we've asked you, have really talked very passionately about fighting corruption. I'd like to start with you, Esther. Just tell me a bit about the how you're going to approach the war against corruption in Nairobi County.
Well, first of all, I'll look at distribution of resources. People have to give a budget on how they're going to spend the money. I'm also going to look at the tender awarding. It should be something that should be open and transparent, where you gazette every project that is going to be undertaken by the county government, and communicate even through the social media. Also give a feedback on who has been awarded, how much the project is going to be, and at what duration are they expected to finish the job. Because you find that most projects that are given out, we spend so much money and yet the projects are never finished. So that is a big loophole on curbing down the corruption. So that is what I would look at in terms of that.
And your time is up. Thank you very much.
Okay. Haman Sin Grewal, I come to you. As a FINA party member, the question of corruption has been a hallmark in this city. And when we look at the single, for example, business permits, the deficit is 912,362,049 shillings, nearly a billion Kenya shillings. What's your approach in terms of addressing this deficit, which is only 64% of the required 100%?
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, in terms of corruption and also the business permits, I cannot stress the value of IT. Because IT allows us to track everything that we're required to. Whether it comes to movement of finance, whether it comes to business permits, we can use geo mapping using Google Maps, and we can track businesses that are currently operating in different areas based on traction and M-Pesa movement. And we can understand that there's a business operating there. But that comes down to investigation. Also, another point I wanted to bring in is if I'm dealing with corruption, I've seen a lot of people are stressed out by KRA investigators. Mm-hmm. Why are KRA investigators not also the investigators for corruption in Kenya? So I feel that as Nairobi governor, I will digitize a lot of operation in terms of tracking, investigation, and further I will bring in the investigative abilities of KRA into my office. Thank you.
Okay. How do you coordinate then with the Kenya Revenue Authority, which is the mandated national body, the taxman, yet you have a financial autonomy as a devolved unit in the event the people of Nairobi give you that mandate? Where is the striking of the balance between the KRA, the Kenya Revenue Authority, as you have mentioned, and the county finances in terms of the collection of the revenue?
Okay. So the question is based on bringing in KRA investigators in, right? So as a country, we're collaborative. We're one unit. Granted, we have devolution that did take place where we separated the powers of operation. We can still collaborate with different organizations. What we can do is simply have a recruiting process where we can have employees also be transferred from KRA to the Nairobi County to investigate corruption and operation of the state. So that's one of the ideas I had in mind. Also, we don't have to entirely transfer them. Something we can also do is simply borrow them occasionally to conduct certain investigations, to also have proper auditing of operation. So I feel like we have a very skilled workforce in Kenya, whether they're in KRA or they work as accountants in the private organizations. Through collaboration, we can bring together all these brilliant minds and solve the problems we're currently dealing with together as a nation. Thank you.
Mr. Nyamwamu,
Yes.
corruption has been something that has tainted the image of Nairobi County, which many see as something that should be the city under the sun. That is how, ideally, that is the space that Nairobi should be occupying. But that is not the case, partially because of issues such as corruption. As you seek this mandate, what loopholes have you identified, and how do you seek to seal them?
First things first, I think we are not serious in our fight against corruption. That's how I feel. We have the EACC, we have the DCI, we have this body, that body, but still money gets lost. The solution is not to form another body. In fact, I agree. In fact, I would like for Wajakoya to be president so that we can hang every one of these people. Because we just dance around this issue, nobody gets held accountable. We have a gubernatorial candidate that has been cleared with fake papers, and we just dance around this issue. So how do we expect to fight corruption where we don't do anything about it? For me, the solution is to go the Wajakoya way. If you are corrupt, we send you to the gallows. Next man up. You are corrupt, go to the gallows. I think that's the only way we can deal with it.
You've talked about a case that is yet to be determined, but I'd let that go because that case is yet to be concluded.
Yeah, but we dance around these issues. See, that's the thing, that's the problem.
And I also don't see how that relates with the issue of
We just dance around
corruption.
these issues. The EBC or the IEBC said they don't have the mandate. Yet, they send me home because I had a foreign certificate. That guy in a commission that wrote for him his certificate, he couldn't look at my own certificates until he had seen my high school certificate. There is no correlation between a high school certificate and a graduate certificate. But he couldn't look at mine, yet we have a gubernatorial candidate who has been cleared by the same commission. So anyway, the issue I'm saying is we dance around this issue of corruption, but nobody wants to take affirmative action.
I just want to stay on that matter for a bit before we move. So you mean, as governor, you will be helpless just because institutions are not working? So you cannot do anything to fight corruption? That is what you're saying tonight?
No, that's not what I'm saying. As governor, I'll do my part.
What will you do? That was the question.
I will not appoint anybody in my government who has been implicated or who has a case pending, or who has been implicated in a corruption scandal. If you don't do that, people are just going to go to court because the mantra is you are innocent until proven guilty, and then they just dance around that issue, and that issue is not solved. So on my part, I will not appoint anybody who's tainted. I will only work with people with clean hands. Let the EACC dance until the day they decide to work.
Okay.
Thank you.
Ms. Nancy Wambui Mwadime, what then will be your approach in effectively sealing the loopholes of financial malfeasance in Nairobi County?
My approach is that when I get
Sorry, just
mic.
yeah.
You can adjust the microphone at your place of comfort. Feel free. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, the approach I want to give is that in the county government management, I am going to work with every place in Nairobi. Like in Nairobi, we have the Somalis, we have the Indians, we have even the white people who are citizens of Kenya, and they are also in Nairobi. So in my county government, I'm going to include everyone in the management so that we're able to seal the loophole even whereby corruption come through. Because corruption cases, it's done by not one person, by two people who come together and agree. So when you put every lace in the management, we are able not to agree on the long things, especially the corruption. And as I would want to say is that Myself, I'm not corrupt, and therefore anyone who will work under me...
Your time's up. And I add you 30 seconds, but on clarity basis, Ms. Nancy Mwadime, when you talk about the ethnicities, in this case appreciating the cocktail nature of this county, which is a reflection of the country entirely, is the problem inclusion or governance in your view in addressing the question I posed?
When I include everybody in the management, I believe that we are able to coordinate, even in the area of the finances. We are getting all the revenue coming in the county government.
Is it about the color of your skin or about your character?
No,
The
it's
issue
not
of
about
corruption.
the color.
So why talk about race? Why talk about including all the people in your management?
It's not about the race. It's saying that Nairobi, we all of us, we are Nairobians, Indians, white people. Like, I think if I'm not wrong, I'm not seeing white people in the county government, and we have them as citizens. So that's what I'm trying to say, that in my government, I'll have a good number of white people, a good number of Indians, a good number of Somalis, and all of us together.
Is their absence the reason why we have huge corruption cases at Kenya's capital? The absence of certain races in the management of the county, the reason why corruption still exists in Nairobi?
I believe the corruption still exists because when you put the same people of same, then they are able to agree together and agree that they can do ABC and they're able to accomplish. But when...
Thank you for your time. And when we get back from this break, the debate continues, and we thank you for your time and responding to the questions and also the thematic areas that are yet to be exhausted. And we'll continue after the break. The debate continues.
Start with one dream, one goal, one deposit, and one transaction. Pamoja, let's make it happen. So don't just bank with us, bank on us.
Yes, Timo.
Enroll at Catholic University of Eastern Africa for courses in nursing, law, business, economics, computer science, education, community health and development, actuarial science, international relations, counseling psychology, regional integration and theology. September intake ongoing at Langata and Eldoret campuses. Email admissions@quer.edu or visit quer.edu. Quer, for innovative, marketable graduates.
I think the most important quality of a leader is wisdom, so that the decisions that are being made now, he knows how, it's like a chess player who sees 10 moves ahead.
Unajua wakati ambapo mlipa ushuru wake, anataka aone angalau kazi ya pesa yake ambayo anailipia. Pesa tunaamini kwa zinaishia kwa mifuko za watu binafsi.
I think it's important that wealth is declared frequently, and if people have found ways to accumulate wealth very quickly, absolutely good for them, as long as, of course, that is done honestly and ethically.
We need leaders who are well educated to understand the challenges that we face in the modern world.
Kwa mfano, mtu mwenye amesomea ukandarasi wa barabara, mkiwa na kiongozi ambaye amesomea hiyo taaluma, una uhakika kwamba barabara za eneo lako zitakuwa zina usimamizi mzuri.
Karibu CAM. By offering market linkages, networking opportunities, and technical assistance, Kenya Association of Manufacturers assists its members to grow and scale up their businesses. Join us and let us work together to grow the manufacturing sector. Becoming a CAM member is as easy as 1, 2, 3. Kenya Association of Manufacturers, driving global competitiveness.
What is a secondary school in Kenya? It ranges from 106 high-cost national schools educating 3% of the learners, where you find ultra-modern libraries and laboratories, the most experienced principals and teachers, and the best teacher-student ratios. Then we have 7,019, some barely established, understaffed, lacking basic facilities, sub-county schools, educating over 60% of learners. Given that KCSE is the most consequential examination in our education system, isn't it fair that we level the ground for all learners to excel by narrowing the capacity gaps between the worst and best schools to deliver quality education? The Summer Agenda calls for a sub-county schools upgrading program and a change from the capitation model to enable small schools to grow. Without these, SDG 4 is a false promise to most Kenyan children.
We shall legalize weed.
Professor George Luchiri Wajakoya of the Roots Party. Raila Amolo Odinga of the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Party.
Unajua mimi sina pesa ya serikali ama ya kashfa.
David Mwaure Wahiga of the Agano Party. And
tunasema kazi ni nini?
William Samoei Ruto of the Kenya Kwanza Alliance. Presidential Debate 2022. Do not adjust your sets. Agnes Kagure, Independent. Cleophas Kiyo, Ford K. Dennis Kode, LDP. Esther Thairu, Independent. Herman Growell, Safina. Johnson Sakaja, UDA. Kenneth Nyamwamu, UPA. Nancy Mwadime, Usawa kwa Wote. Polycarp Igathe, Jubilee. What would you like to ask your Nairobi gubernatorial candidate? Send your questions on a video to the WhatsApp number 0796 560 560. You can also text your question to 22843. The Nairobi gubernatorial debate live from the Catholic University from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. Monday, 11th July.
Welcome back. You're watching the Nairobi Gubernatorial Debate live, coming to you from the Catholic University of Eastern Africa in the county of Nairobi. And we are with Esther Waringa Thairu, who is an independent candidate seeking the top job in the county. We also have Herman Sein Growell, who is a member of the Safina Party. We also have Kenneth Nyamwamu, who is a member of the United Progressive Alliance Party, and Nancy Wamboi Mwadime.
All right, we'd also wish to remind you that we extended invitations to all the 9 candidates who are vying for the Nairobi top seat. And of course, we have with us 4 of them for the first debate lined up for the night. Remember, later on, we'll be taking you through the second debate also, as we just lay it all bare. Who carries the vision for Nairobi County? Who among the ladies and gentlemen before us tonight has what it takes to become the next governor? But we just want to move on with this debate, and right about now, we want to look at the governance of the city. And I'll just come to you, Mr. Nyamwamu. The extension of deed of transfer of functions that was signed between the Nairobi City County and the national government elapses on the 24th of August, of course preceded by a 3-month extension period to tackle what is called the transition. If elected governor, how do you plan on handling this transition? And also, how do you seek to sustain the relationship between the national government and the county government, and which areas will you be doing that on?
Is this in relation to the NMS?
Yes.
First of all, we shouldn't be having NMS running Nairobi County to begin with. That's not how our democracy was set up. We're supposed to be ruled, it's supposed to be by the people. It's the people supposed to decide. They elect somebody and that person runs, they give the person the mandate to run the county. Now, we have NMS, and My hope is when I get in, we'll have a transition for them we'll have a lay-down transition for them to exit and let the Nairobi County be run by the elected officials. It had a lot to do with the previous governor, but now when we get in, we are making sure that the NMS will hand over the function to the county government so that it's run by the duly elected officials. That's how our democracy is set up, and that's how we are going
Your
to
time
work.
is up, but I'll add you 30 seconds. Nairobi is Kenya's capital.
Yes.
And also it is like the headquarter.
Yes.
Do you want to tell me it's not important to have a relationship between these two levels of government, the national government and the county government, considering the fact that it is the capital of the entire country?
The county has its own, they have their own responsibilities. Why should Nairobi be partly run by the NMS while Kisumu, which is also another county, is fully run by a governor? I don't think that's fair. Our mandate dictates that you let the county be ran by the person that's been duly elected. I understand why the NMS was there, but that's not how our democracy is set up. Why should Nairobi be chosen to be run by NMS and not Migori, for example?
Okay, your time is up. Haman Grewal, the law under Article 187 anticipates cooperation between the national government and the county government. And we have spoken about the NMS and how it came about. Would you have done what the ex-governor did in handing over 4 key functions to the national government?
Well, if you look at the history of NMS and why it was created, first of all, I would like to thank His Excellency Uhuru Kenyatta for pushing for the creation of NMS, because he saw that Nairobi was in a state of chaos. And it was the sort of emergency response we needed. I'm sure all of you can agree, if you look at the success of NMS, it's something that we can be proud of. NMS has accomplished what the governor is supposed to accomplish. And NMS was a substitute for the governor, meaning that we need to move back into our normal state of operation. And we had the separation of powers so that we can allow elected leaders for certain areas be in charge of those areas. If we elect someone for a county, it would not be fair, just, or constitutional to have the president be running that county entirely. There must be collaboration, and we will transition in a peaceful and positive way.
Okay, your time is up, but I add you 30 seconds for clarity. And there seems to be no response to my question, and I need clarity on this. If accorded the mandate by the people of Nairobi County, would you have done what the former governor did at State House in February 2020?
I feel that given the situation we were in at the time, it did make sense, but it did happen because of the governor's actions. So I feel that if I'm responsible as the governor, I wouldn't allow us to reach that state. But if we are in that state, we must be responsible as leaders and say, I've made a mistake. I'm not delivering as a leader. And take a step back so that our country can prosper. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Ms. Nancy Mwadime, how do you plan on sustaining the relationship between the two levels of government, considering the fact that you're vying on an Usawa kwa wote party ticket, assuming the government is taken over by somebody a party that is not in your political camp? What will you do and how will you sustain this relationship?
I'll be able to maintain the relationship because the two bodies, the national government and county government, we need one another, and each body has its own role to play. The national government, the county government, because even some of the assignments which are done by the county government work in relation with the national government. So what I would say is that I'll maintain the relationship, and where necessary, we shall work together. And at times, for example, with NMS, I would say that the county government, with a good leader, we have all what we need in the county government. We have workers from top, from the engineers to the accountant to the officers. So what I would say that with good leadership, the county government can be able to manage.
Thank you. Your time is up.
Okay. Esther Waring, I come to you. And owing to the importance of the close cooperation needed between the national government and the counties, because the understanding is that the two levels of government are meant to provide services for the people of the Republic of Kenya who hold the sovereignty under Article 1 of the Constitution. What will be your approach between the relationship between State House and City Hall?
Well, a leadership of a nation, even though it has different bodies, is still one, because the objective is for the interest of the people who have the sovereign power. So I see that in partnership and consultation, we can really work, the county government and the State House, because everything that is done, the functions could be different because of devolution, but it is workable with partnership. Let me give an example. The county government holds the EAC level of education, but that does not stop a county governor to involve, to be in partnership with the national government to build a school. So I find that it's more of a consultation and partnership over leadership, and that will work.
I add you 30 seconds, and clearly then tell me, the education docket is budgeted for 520 billion, lion's share of the country's financial year. There are some roles which are devolved, others aren't. How do you draw that very thin line as to what you will accomplish in terms of education?
You see, if we have plans that involves the people, the partnership to be also drilled down to the people, the NGOs, and even stakeholders. It is possible to even be able to meet the target of what you're doing. It's more of partnership that will work, and involving the people also to be partners, stakeholders.
Thank you.
Yes.
All right, so we want to move this forward to the issue of living and working conditions for the residents of Nairobi. Mr. Nyamwamu, I see you have an issue you want to raise.
Yes.
I'll give you 30 seconds to address that.
I just want to talk about this NMS county government thing. NMS is being headed by a military guy. Now, the government should act as an oversight on the, it should be the oversight role in terms of overseeing what the counties are doing. But devolution was there to bring services closer to the people, and that's why we have devolution. So when we bring the government to come and actually get involved in the devolution functions, we are treading a very dangerous line. When Hilton started, he started very nicely. He delivered services to the people. Over time, it has been shown military rule takes over and they suppress democracy.
Your time is up, but taking you back to when this happened on the 25th of February 2020, vying for this position, I want to believe you understand where the county was and the state at which it was being operated at that time. What would you have done different? What would you have done different aside from just signing that deed of transfer of functions?
Well, first of all, it starts from the governor that was elected and the deputy governor that's seeking a gubernatorial position right now, who was part of that system, and the senator who was supposed to be overseeing. They all failed. So then the government has to be like, Nairobi's in a mess. We need to take over Nairobi or Nairobi will be in a mess. But that's not how our democracy was set up.
How would you have cleaned that mess, Mr. Nyamwamu?
Hey, collect garbage. The garbage was terrible. That was the function of the governor. Give electricity, provide electricity in the informal sectors. Get rid of the cartels. That's what the governor was supposed to do. And his deputy governor and the senator was supposed to oversee that function. All three failed. That's why the government stepped in. But all in all, what I'm trying to say, the basic framework of our democracy is not set that way. We set a very dangerous precedent if we continue this path.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Nyamuamo. And just an understanding in terms of the specificity, you have raised a very important and a pertinent question as to garbage in the city.
Yes.
Do you understand Nairobi County?
Yes, I do. I played in this city. I live in this city.
In terms of the tons of garbage,
Yes.
how much does the city generate?
First of all, Nairobi doesn't even have a system to collect the garbage. We have just young little boys that we use and we pay them very little money to collect garbage. Nairobi needs to set up a garbage collection system that starts from collecting garbage from the homes all the way to how the garbage is disposed. We don't have that system. We need to set that system up so that we can have a systematic way of collecting garbage in the county. Once that system is in place, then you'll not see garbage in the city. But we cannot have self-help groups, young boys collecting garbage in an unsanitary manner, and we call that garbage collection. We need to have a system set in place with the county government, and that's what I'll do when I become governor.
Mr. Herman Growell, Nairobi County generates about 2,500 tons of garbage in a day. Out of this, only 1,800 is collected and transported. About 700 tons cannot be accounted for, and you and I can guess where that ends up. If elected governor, how do you seek to fix this problem?
Okay. So this mostly comes to how are we managing resources. So resources would be goods and even waste. So when we talk of goods, are we managing a system that allows for the collection and recycling of the waste? Secondly, we look at the waste generated. How is it ending up in the dump sites, for example? Is all of it ended up in the dump sites? So it's simply about now tracking how much garbage generated from certain areas, how much needs to be handled, what is the success rate of the systems we have put in place. Because when I was reflecting on garbage, it was one of the major aspects of my manifesto, because to work in any place, whether it's an office or in a county, you shouldn't have garbage everywhere, you shouldn't have sewages open. Because I've also walked through several slums in Nairobi, and I don't understand how we have the funding for something simple such as manual labor, which is minimum wage, which is all that's required to collect garbage in certain areas, and then now move it to a recycling plant.
Thank you so much.
That's why I spoke on how we need to partner. So even with recycling plants, we can export shredded plastic to other countries.
Mr. Growell. Your time is up.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Ms. Nancy Wambui Mwadime, the issue we have talked about is very important. What's your easy, immediate fix to garbage problem in the city?
About the garbage issue, one thing I want to say that people have complained that at times leaders give manifesto and they are not able to fulfill what they have said. Especially the issue of the garbage. I would say this is something I need to get to that office and sit with the other parties and we see the way forward on how to handle the issue, because it's a big problem at hand.
Which is the way forward?
As I've said, there are some issues one would need to get to that office and sit and look all around and see how to solve. And the garbage is one of the issue one would need to go and get to the office and sit with the bodies latent and see the way forward.
And how does that way forward formula look like? Because the people of Nairobi watching this debate want clarity to the questions that we are asking you. What's the approach? How?
I start by saying that we need first to start by educating our people. Because the issue of garbage starts by dropping it everywhere. So we need first to have the feeling that you cannot go dropping a peel of a banana everywhere.
Your time is up, Ms. Mwadime, but just 30 seconds for some clarity on something you said. You want to get to that house, sit down with some people to get solutions. The people of Nairobi want somebody, a leader who already has solutions. What level of assurance can you give residents who are watching you tonight that you have the solutions to the problems that they are facing in Kenya's capital?
I have solution for many issues facing the Nairobians.
Is garbage one of them?
Garbage is one of them.
So how do you sort to fix the challenges we are facing with the garbage issue in the city?
We can go to the old, now we are calling it county government. Years back, we called it city council. By then, we had lorries, which used to go round collecting the garbage. And there was a planned area where the garbage used to be taken, and from there it was managed. So what I'm trying to say is that we can get back to the Nairobi, which was there some years back, and the county government provide those services to the citizen, correcting the garbage and knowing where the garbage should go and knowing how the garbage will be managed.
Thank you. Esther Waringa, 30% of garbage in the city is disposed of by a private company. This is a lion's share, and it's clearly a private affair. Yet the county is supposed to be offering services to the people. It's public dominated. How will you turn this around?
You see, garbage looked in a more positive way. It's money generating. If you look at it that way, then you'll have a solution on how you can tap from garbage collection into the recycling and generate some money. So what I would really do is to have the county government deal with the garbage disposals, where the garbage installation, collection bins are placed in every estate, in every slum area, on the streets, and then that garbage collection is done by the city government, and we build some collection dumping sites in ward level, and then after that we are able to partner with companies that do recycling, and then we'll ask them that since we have brought the garbage to you, to the dumping site, then we create employment. We ask them to employ people who will sort that garbage out, and then after that, whatever profit they make,
your time is up, Ms.
then it's able to, we ask them to give us a 30%.
Your time is up, but let me add you 30 seconds to be clear on that.
Yes.
When you say that you will procure companies, do you appreciate the importance of public participation under the current constitution? And what will be the way of bringing those companies on board since they are private?
We have recycling companies. If we partner with them, and those are the things that they need, the recycling, the garbage stuff that they can recycle. So I find it's easier because when you partner with them, you have made it easier. You've brought the garbage to a dumping site that is available for them to be able to collect it. That's how I would look at it.
Okay.
Yes.
And your time is up. Thank you.
All right, we want to move to the next section, but before we do, Mr. Nyamwamu, earlier you had said that you play in this city, you've lived in this city. I just want to seek a clarification, looking at what you've done and who you are. You left the country in 2001?
Yes.
To go to the United States?
Yes.
You're a certified nurse in the United States?
Yes.
You've attained 3 of your major degrees from abroad?
Yes, I did.
Earlier, in early basic education, you studied in a county outside Nairobi, Siaya.
Yes.
How are you assuring the residents of Nairobi that you're part and parcel of them, you understand their issues, you have solutions, you know what they're going through, you're going to fix it if they elect you governor?
Well, I've been
You have
articulating
90 seconds.
I've been articulating these issues. I've given a way forward in terms of garbage collection. I've given a way forward in terms of making Nairobi business friendly. I think the issue you're asking, you've been outside the country, how are you going to relate with Nairobians? And my answer is this: I'm still a Kenyan, and problems that face the cities are universal. If I'm correct, our president learnt abroad, incoming president Raila Odinga learnt abroad. A lot of people who are in leadership in this country learnt abroad, but they still actively participating in leadership roles in this country. So living abroad does not disqualify you from understanding and articulating the issues or solving problems. One of the things that has been put here that's successful is this expressway. This is a foreign concept that was borrowed from abroad, but it's here and it's working. So going abroad does not stop
Thank you so much. Thank you for
from
that
articulating the
Your
issues.
time is up. Now let's move to the next section of this conversation that touches on the living and working conditions of residents of Nairobi. The key issue has been housing. And in this city, 9.3% of Nairobians, only 9.3% own homes. The others are renting units in different places. And also, it is a city that, according to statistics by the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, 80% of the people who live in informal settlements across the country live in Nairobi. There's a huge housing crisis in this capital. Esther, I'll begin with you. If elected governor, how will you seek the housing crisis in Kenya's capital?
Well, I would start with the housing crisis with the most affected areas, like the slum areas, and I would partner with the landlords who will sit down with the consultation and find out how we can be able to improve what is already there. For example, if I take Kibera slums, those are settlements where there are landlords who are owning those small houses. But if I came in as a governor and had a partnership with them where we improve the housing, we improve the condition that people live in there, and I'll come with support, like give money so that we can improve, and yet the people staying there will not pay a higher cost, but they'll still remain paying that because I've already chipped in some money to improve their living conditions. That's how I would tackle it. Then I would partner with the investors to build affordable housing.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Your time is up.
Allow me, Esther, to add you 30 seconds, because you have mentioned Kibera, which is a constituency in Nairobi County. And as per the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics in 2019 census, this is a region or part of Nairobi which has a population density of 712 times what ought to have been 68,000 people per square kilometer. That's a homework, isn't it? That's a steep slope for you. How will you operationalize decongestion of informal settlements, which account for 80% of Nairobi's population, and Kibera being an example that you have fronted?
Well, I wouldn't look at moving these people. I know there is cheap housing, affordable housing that was built for them, high-rise being one of them, but they never moved in there. They still came back to their own settlement. So what I would look at is improving, not really moving them away, because they are used to that place, they are comfortable in that place, but how best can I improve their living standard?
And your time is up.
That's what I would focus on.
Asante, thank you. Haman,
yes.
I come to you. Housing is a national government function, and therefore, again, another cooperation is needed between the county government and the national government. We already are falling short of the targeted 250,000 household units to be delivered. We are doing it at 50,000 at the moment. This rate needs to be speeded up by 3 times the current number. What's your cooperation with the national government if elected governor, and how will you address the problem of housing congestion in the city?
Okay. So the question is based on supply being too low and demand being too high. Every businessman knows that this is a huge opportunity, right? So if you look at the structure of the country, you've got your upper class, middle class, and lower income groups, and each needs a different solution for housing, because you wouldn't expect someone that's earning over 2 million shillings per month to be provided with the same solution as a lower class person. So what we do have is an opportunity for us to now use technology to even like 3D print cheap housing for people living in slums and have a payment structured plan where they can pay back. Because if you study the banking history of Kenya, you see that it's becoming difficult for people to now mortgage housing. So that's something we should reflect on. Further, for the middle class and upper class, we must encourage investment because, again, this is an opportunity. If I give you a loan to build apartments, I now have the opportunity to earn from interest, and we've succeeded in building apartments for
Your
people
time is
in
up,
Nairobi.
but I add you 30 seconds. Proceed.
Okay. And what I've also studied is, so aside from the whole aspect of this being a business opportunity for us in terms of providing housing to low-income, middle-income, and upper-class people for housing, we also need to reflect on how there are a lot of unemployed people in Nairobi. So I've studied all the manifestos for different candidates, and someone like Wajakoya has spoken of making Isiolo the capital of Kenya. I understood the logic, but this is also something that can be applied here. Because there's too much demand in Nairobi, what if we set up organizations in other counties where people can earn and also find housing? So I think that's something we should also encourage to decongest
Thank you.
Nairobi.
Thank you so much, Mr. Grawal. Now we come to you, Mr. Nyamwamu. How do you seek to fix the housing crisis in the capital under your administration, if elected?
So for me, I think it's many factors, but the biggest factor is the economic factor. A lot of people opt to go to the informal sectors because they can't afford whatever is available. For example, in Kileleshwa, there's a lot of apartment units that are available for rent, but they are unaffordable because people don't have the disposable income to go and rent those apartments. So my solution would be, one, to encourage investors to invest in these areas or areas proximity to the slum areas, so that these people can get places they can go to and work. That's number one. So instead of having an industrial area or industries in industrial area, let's have industries in every constituency, so that people from Kibra they don't have to walk to industrial area, they can go find jobs nearby. So let's create investment in those areas. Two,
your time is up, Kenneth, but proceed, 30 seconds.
Okay. Two, let's decentralize Nairobi. Let's get other functions in other areas. The reason why people come here is they come to look for employment here. So let's decentralize other key functions from Nairobi to other areas. We've started doing that. Let's do more of that, so that you don't have to go live to Nairobi to earn a living. You can go to Mombasa, Kisumu, wherever, where even the cost of living is low, and it will bring down the cost of living in Nairobi, because a lot of people will move out of Nairobi.
Thank you.
That's how I look at it.
Thank you so much. I come to you, Nancy Wamboi Mwadime of the Usawa kwa Wote party. What's your understanding of the laws that regard planning in the city, and how would you differentiate between residential and commercial areas for purposes of planning and to answer the question of housing?
Before I go to planning...
You can just move closer
yes, your microphone.
To your microphone.
Yes.
Before I go to planning, I would want to deal with the housing issue, which is an issue which we need to handle. On the issue of housing, some years back, we used to have city council houses, or county government is supposed to be developing homes and give to the Nairobi people. So I would want to go back to that and get the county department on the housing to develop some houses. Number two, I would want to network with real estate developers. I am in real estate industry, and I have seen the gap. We have the developers who are willing to develop the homes, and we also have the Nairobi people, especially who have on the circles and pension. They want homes, but there is a gap in between, because the developers, the circle managers, they tell developer they want a ready home, yet they have money lying in the bank.
Your time is up, but 30 seconds. When you talk about the real estate industry where you are a subscriber to, do you have an understanding of the complaints lodged in a court of law against you by your employers of mistreatment and lack of pay?
I do have, because when you are a developer and the economy is affected, our work is affected. And most of the complaints we have is that we are not finishing the houses. But the problem is not really the developer 100%. It goes all the way to the economy. Because when we don't have an atmosphere of the business, as a developer, you start your development, and because of the atmosphere, you are not able to receive the buyers for the homes, and you are not able to complete your development. But in this case, what I'm trying to say is that we can have a network between a developer and a SACCO, whereby the developer will develop homes for a particular SACCO using the same fund lying in the bank. And in this case, the Nairobi citizen will pay only 10 to 15,000 to own a house within 10 to 25
your
years.
time is up.
Thank you.
And at this point, we also extended an opportunity to the residents of Nairobi to get a chance to ask questions. And we just want to get some of them so that our candidates can be able to respond.
My name is Mercy Masila Achola, an executive program leader with the Maxwell Leadership Team, and also serving in the Kenya Daima Steering Committee. My question to the Nairobi gubernatorial candidates is, if elected to office, could you share with the residents of Nairobi what can we expect from you in your first 100 days in office?
Nairobi County collects billions in taxes. What mechanism are they going to put in place to ensure that Nairobi County's billions do not end up in the pockets of a few corrupt leaders?
Nairobi's public transit system is a mess. How will your administration fix the issue of commuting through town and the traffic jams we experience on our roads daily?
Majina ni Nicholas Paul. Swali langu kwa waheshimiwa wanaokusudia kuwa gavana wa Nairobi. Ni mpango ipi mlioweka kuhakikisha ya kwamba wafanyabiashara wadogo wadogo hawadhulumiwi na mabwenyenye humu mjini?
My name is Samuel Matara. I work and stay in Nairobi. And I have a question to all the Nairobi gubernatorial aspirants. Now, if you walk along the streets of Nairobi, the marketplaces of Nairobi, and also the residential places, you will encounter mounds of garbage strewn all over. And this is despite the previous governors promising that they will make sure that this city becomes clean. How are you going to ensure that this city becomes clean like the way it used to be?
Question number one. NMS inatoa stage from CBD, inapeleka outside CBD, and also they are banning border from CBD. Is it right on that way?
And those are the residents of Nairobi who sampled messages that we did play here, and we did engage them because they are very key and important since they hold the key to City Hall and in exercising Article 1 of the Constitution, since the sovereignty of power lies with them as enshrined and envisioned in Article 1 of the Constitution 2010. I begin with you, Esther Waringa. Vast array of topics from taxes, corruption, malfeasance, small businesses and the friendly environment they want, to planning. What's your response to what some of the sampled messages here had conveyed?
First of all, if I heard you well, you've talked about corruption. And I did mention that I'll set systems where in employment and people are vetted, because leadership is key. If you employ people who are corrupted, then they'll mess the system. The other thing is closing the gap of any cartels that takes place. If I heard you well, again, you've talked about if you can say
small businesses?
Sorry?
Small businesses and friendly environment that they are seeking.
Yeah, small businesses are very critical because they have a high percentage of employment. I would look at boosting them after COVID, post-COVID. The businesses were affected. So I would form SACCOs that I'll boost money in those SACCOs, and then they would get loans that they pay with minimum interest.
And your time is up.
They build up.
Coming to you, Mr. Grawal Singh, we had tackled the issue of corruption, but I want you to also speak to some issues that have been raised there. What will you do within your first 100 days? And also, what is your plan to improve the welfare and status of those who are running small and medium enterprises within the capital?
Okay. So I think the whole question of what are you going to do in your first 100 days is a very generic question. As a governor, it's not about just picking one goal and focusing on it. I feel it should be an expansive goal, and it's all outlined in my manifesto. What I want to do primarily in my first 100 days, if I must state in my first 100 days, is to clean up Nairobi. Because a lot of people in Nairobi are not happy, whether it's in terms of operation or the cleanliness. It does have an impact on the psychology of a lot of people. So I feel cleaning the area in Nairobi is something of paramount importance in my first 100 days. Moving on to SMEs. My running mate is named Michael Kimwele. He works for KCB Bank. He's in the department for SME loans. So there's actually a structured plan we have on how to help SMEs access funding. Because if you look at the history of a lot of countries, how do you stop, for example, the son of an Askari being an Askari? How do you help the son of a mechanic finally be able to buy a car? It's through providing them with funding.
Mr. Grewal, but I add you 30 seconds to proceed.
Okay, thank you. It's through providing people with funding to allow them to break out of their environment. If, for example, I've never received over 30,000 in my whole life, how am I going to escape the poverty cycle? It's through having a structured plan, and even we have a system where we'll guide a lot of people in Nairobi how to start a business, how to run a business, and if your plan makes sense, we'll help you get funding for your project. And we also have some sort of mentoring system. So as you're operating, as you're growing your business, you'll still be monitored, supervised, and we work as sort of a team, as a family, so we can help each and every person in Nairobi grow. Thank you.
All right, the same set of questions will apply to you, Ms. Nancy Mwadime. Within 100 days, in case you're elected, what will you prioritize? And also as you do that, you also talk on what you plan to do to improve the status and welfare of those running small businesses within Nairobi. You have 1 minute.
So the first 100 days, I'll deal with the employment. We have kept on talking about employment on youth, but around this time we have unemployment even from age gap between 30 and 40 and even 50. And with this group, I would provide training, free training, and when they are done with the training, we provide them with tools. For example, if you are trained as a mechanic, we release you with the tools for being a mechanic. If you train as a trailer, we release you with a trailing machine. For the youth, I would encourage a good number of the youth to further their studies. When they go, the county government under my management will pay their school fees abroad. When they go out there, they'll get visa to further their education. And we'll take care of the fees and their accommodation. Okay. But while they are there, they'll be able to work.
But why abroad? Why not within the borders of this country? Don't we have what it takes to do that?
I was to come to that. Mm-hmm. But I'm saying I'll encourage a number. Because when I encourage a number of them, I'll kill two birds. One, they'll get employment. The second, they'll be able to work for a few hours. And those who are wise, they'll work and send money back home and they support their parent. And for the local youth, I'll also get them to workshop and training. And I'll do the same as for the age gap between 30 and 40. I'll give them tools to start small businesses.
Okay, Ms. Nancy Mwadime, your time is up, of the Usawa kwa Wote Party. Mr. Kenneth Nyamwamu, how would you respond to the sample questions from the people of Nairobi County?
So first things first, let's make Nairobi business friendly. Let's invite international investors. Let's promote local investors. Let's not criminalize people who are making a living. If we bring international investors and have them in every constituency, people will have jobs, and that will improve our lives of living. Let's reduce our business licenses by 50%, so that whatever businesses we have, they are not, the cost of doing business is a little lower, and they are able to do business effectively in Nairobi. And the other thing is, especially the issue of garbage, let's set up a garbage collection system. where we have days where and let the city council buy trucks if they are not able to buy trucks. Let them lease those trucks. Let them lease from companies, partner with companies to bring trucks, to have collection days, and take them to collection centers.
Your time is up, Mr. Nyamwamu.
Can I have a little bit so I finish?
Proceed. 30 seconds added.
Sorry.
Granted.
So let's get these people these young boys who are picking up garbage. Let's train them, empower them, show them the sanitary way to collect garbage. So that when the system is there, these boys can be incorporated in the county, and then the garbage can be taken to the collection centers. The other thing is when I'm governor, I'm going to fight with KEMSA. KEMSA is diverting medication from county hospitals.
Your time is up, Mr. Kenneth Nyamwamu. That is another government agency which is national. We appreciate is the source point of pharmaceuticals to the counties, and that is a topic we can discuss another day.
All right, so there's a question that was also asked. I deliberately left it because this is what actually ushers us into the next section. And we're going to be looking into your vision for the transport sector in Nairobi County. One of the residents of Nairobi County is concerned, actually, about the traffic jams that we witness each and every day if you live in the capital. Esther, what is your plan to end the perennial traffic jam menace, if elected?
Thank you so much. About transport, I would say that if we have proper and efficient transport system that will work, it's good. If I'm elected, I would think of having to refurbish trains, have rails, train bringing people to town. That would decongest the traffic. I'd also have to have a consultation with the Matatu people and see how best we can have the public transport organized. I would also look at having designated lanes on the road where any buses or a car that has more than 3 people can use that lane so that it's more faster to have them.
Your time is up, but are those, I'll add you 30 seconds, are those not efforts that have been tried before? We've seen that in the capital already. Is there anything that you offer as an alternative for the residents of Nairobi?
If you can ask the question again.
I just want to inform you that those are things that the previous administrations have tried, using trains and also consultations with those who are operating in the public service sector. And of course, you know, is there something that you plan to do that will be different to fix the perennial problem of traffic jams?
It's to encourage people to do carpooling if they are going the same direction. And if we had institutions like schools that are properly equipped and people take their kids to school where they stay, it's much better than crossing across to take a child to Nairobi Primary School when they live in Dadora. So I would reinforce that method of having the schools at their ward levels so that we can ease the congestion of traffic.
Your time is up. Esther Waringa, Independent Party. Herman Grewal, what's your approach to traffic snarl-up and the menace in the city?
Okay. So transport is a fairly complex issue. I'll try to speak on it in 1 minute, but generally it cannot be resolved in this much time. Once again, we break it down. We have 3 classes of people. We have the lower, middle, and upper class individuals, and each desire a different level of transport solutions. What often happens is, through my research, is I found when international guests come to Nairobi, how many of them are comfortable using a system such as matatus? How many of them understand how matatus work? It's not a large percentage. So I reflected on it. I came up with 3 solutions. I hope I have the time to touch on them. Number 1. The solution to traffic is not creating more roads. Because if we look at the history of Kenya, look at Thika Highway, for example, that was the more road solution. What we need is, because of the expanding population in Nairobi, We need to have structured mass transport systems that are of quality, that would fairly reduce transport. If I had a solution for me to come from Westlands to Karen, for example, that's quality public transport, I would use that.
Your time is up, but I add you 30 seconds. Proceed.
All right. I would use that. So we need to have quality mass transport. Something like bringing in double-decker buses into Nairobi would reduce the cost of transport even for the government, for individuals, and achieve the same thing. We can digitize the operation of matatus. Someone with a smartphone, the driver, I can track his phone. And as a user, I can see how far my matatu is and how long it will take. I link my account with that matatu, and then we can also have promotions for students. And lastly, we can also have a digital carpooling system where if I have a saloon car, for example, other people coming to Karen can simply share the cost of transport with me. And now this touches on the different classes we have, that's lower, middle, and upper class.
Your time is up.
All right, we move to you, Nancy Mwadime. Just your strategy of solving the traffic jams in Nairobi County.
Before I would think of solving the issue of the transport, I would start by having everyone in Nairobi be able to access the transport, especially the people with special need. I would want us to introduce buses which are accessible to the person with a wheelchair. He can just driving and lifted to the bus and stay in the wheelchair, and when he gets to his destination, just is walk out, so that we can also protect their dignity. About the issue of the traffic jam, this is something which has always been discussed again and again. And at times I look at it, the people who discuss are not even the people who are using public transport. Because when you put the bus stage so far from town, then we expect people to walk that distance. I find that very unfair. For me, I would say, I would want to come up with a solution before I get the stage out.
Okay.
But,
your
but
time
before
is
I
up.
get to that...
Your time is up. Okay, I add you 30 seconds, but again, clarity.
So before I get to the solution, I would advise that we have buses whereby they come across. For example, if the buses are coming from Global, they come closing over to the other side. We have designated road whereby the traffic, the vehicles will come and close to the other side without saying that the bus stop or the stage will be at Global, and then people have to walk all the way to town.
All right, and just to come to you, Mr. Nyamwamu, as well on the same issue of the perennial traffic jams in this country's capital, what is your solution?
So first, let's expand the use of BRTs in our city, number one. Number two, let's introduce shifts, working shifts. Let people not come at the same time and leave at the same time. Services that don't need people to come to start work at 8, they can have shifts from maybe 11 to, I don't know, add 8 hours to that. But the concept is to have people come to work at different shifts. In essence, there was something that was talked about in 2013 about introducing Nairobi into a 24-hour economy. Let's introduce that 24-hour economy where we can have shifts and people come at this time, or that time. Another thing we can do about congestion is to have car holidays, days where, you know, we don't allow private cars or cars of particular whatever to come into the city. Let everybody use the BRTs or whatever public transportation is available to come to the city.
Thank you.
That will help with decongestion.
Your time is up. And I start with Esther Waring on podium number 1. Your closing remarks, 30 seconds, and kindly adhere to the time.
I would say that the national government funds distribution to be considered because the county government has more of the functions, yet not enough money to fulfill those functions. And the other thing is that I would say is that I've lost my mind.
Okay, and your time is up.
So much. That is all I would say, that in partnership with the national government and the county government would really bring a smooth running of this city.
Your time is up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Herman Grower?
Okay. Closing remarks are normally a lot longer, but I'll try 30 seconds. So, I'm the Safina candidate for Nairobi governor. I'm 25 years old, and my candidature came as a shock to many. But I feel I've outlined the qualities I have that allowed me to be backed by Jimmy Richard Wanjigi and Paul Mwite for this position. I've come up with solutions for free healthcare, free education and jobs for people across Kenya. And you can read my manifesto on harman47.com. Through strategy, this was also my manifesto launch that cost me 0 shillings, again showcasing how I can use little resources and accomplish a lot of things.
Your time is up.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. Ms. Nancy Wamboi Mwadime, 30 seconds.
My closing remarks, I would want to speak to the voters and tell them that if they vote for Nancy Wamboi, they will be voting for a leader who have them at heart. And I also want to advise them that it is time they choose or they select a leader who is a leader not because he's coming from big parties, not because he's giving them money, but a leader who can go and work for the people. The leader who will go and know that he has been sent there and be a leader for Mwananchi.
Your time is up. Mr. Nyamwamu.
I want Nairobi voters to know there is a choice. And the choice is not necessarily to either choose between either Sakaja or Rigathi. There are other candidates. There have been issues where, the media has kind of contributed to the issue of us not getting our word out there. But now that we are here, it's our platform to say, Nairobi, Sakaja, Rigathi quit on you, do not be forced to choose him. Sakaja was there 5 years ago. For 5 years, didn't do anything, gave up the functions. Please, there are other choices here with manifestos.
Your time's up.
And people who are willing to work.
Thank you so much, Mr. Nyamwamu. And just to point out, this platform has been organized by a majority of media houses across the country, and you're being watched on several television stations and being heard on radio stations. So we really do appreciate you creating time for us tonight. And of course, that is how we wrap this debate. And now, ladies and gentlemen in the audience, our viewers at home, we end it here for now. Our appreciation to the candidates and their respective campaigns for honoring voters with this duty to debate.
And we thank you for watching. Our second debate involves Senator Johnson Sakaja of the United Democratic Alliance Party and Polycarp Igathe of the ruling Jubilee Party and the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Coalition political party, and comes to you live at exactly 8 p.m. My name is Ayub Abdikadir Abdi.
Check it. Let's talk about banking. Or let's talk about dreams and goals. Your dreams, your goals.
If you're like Louise, you value doing biz with ease. Or maybe you're like Dan, a family man with a plan. At Diamond Trust Bank, it starts with one dream, one goal, one deposit, and one transaction. Pamoja, let's make it happen. So don't just bank with us, bank on us.
Enroll at Catholic University of Eastern Africa for courses in nursing, law, business, economics, computer science, education, community health and development, actuarial science, international relations, counseling psychology, regional integration and theology. September intake ongoing at Langata and Eldoret campuses. Email admissions@quer.edu or visit quer.edu. Quer for innovative, marketable graduates.
I think the most important quality of a leader is wisdom, so that the decisions that are being made now, he knows how, it's like a chess player who sees 10 moves ahead.
Unajua wakati ambapo mlipa ushuru wake, anataka aone angalau kazi ya pesa yake ambapo anailipia. Hii pesa tunaamini kwa zinaishia kwa mifuko za watu binafsi.
I think it's important that wealth is declared frequently, and if people have found ways to accumulate wealth very quickly, absolutely good for them, as long as, of course, that is done honestly and ethically.
We need leaders who are well educated to understand the challenges that we face in the modern world.
Kwa mfano, mtu mwenye amesomea ukandarasi wa barabara, mkiwa na kiongozi ambaye amesomea hiyo taaluma, una uhakika kwamba barabara za eneo lako zitakuwa zina usimamizi mzuri.
Karibu PAM. By offering market linkages, networking opportunities, and technical assistance, Kenya Association of Manufacturers assists its members to grow and scale up their businesses. Join us and let us work together to grow the manufacturing sector. Becoming a CAM member is as easy as 1, 2, 3. Kenya Association of Manufacturers, driving global competitiveness.
What is a secondary school in Kenya? It ranges from 106 high-cost national schools educating 3% of the learners, where you find ultra-modern libraries and laboratories, the most experienced principals and teachers, and the best teacher-student ratios. Then we have 7,019, some barely established, understaffed, lacking basic facilities, sub-county schools, educating over 60% of learners. Given that KCSE is the most consequential examination in our education system, isn't it fair that we level the ground for all learners to excel by narrowing the capacity gaps between the worst and best schools to deliver quality education? Usawa agenda calls for a sub-county schools upgrading program and a change from the capitation model to enable small schools to grow. Without these, SDG 4 is a false promise to most Kenyan children.
We shall legalize weed.
Professor George Luchiri Wajakoya of the Roots Party. Raila Amolo Odinga of the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Party.
Unajua mimi sina pesa ya serikali ama ya kashfa.
David Mwaure Wahiga of the Agano Party. And
tunasema kazi ni nini?
William Samoei Ruto of the Kenya Kwanza Alliance. Presidential Debate 2022. Do not adjust your sets.
Well, a data analyst, an IT practitioner, and two real estate CEOs or experts in their particular field. Those are the four candidates that showed up for the first debate that ran from about 5:30 p.m. and concluded a couple of minutes ago here at the Catholic University of Eastern Africa. We are live with the first ever inaugural Nairobi Gubernatorial debate, this coming just before the Deputy President's debate that will happen next week, and the presidential debate that will happen the week after. Many thanks for staying with us. We are live across all TV platforms and radio platforms as well. My name is Wahiga Mwaura from Citizen TV at our Studio B, where my guests are on standby to analyze what has been a very interesting last hour and a half or so. Who showed up here and who did not show up? I'll tell you who didn't show up. Dennis Kothe didn't show up. Agnes Kagura did not show up. Cleophas Kio did not show up. But the other four of the seven that had been, of course, cleared by the IEBC and had met the threshold 5% and below in popularity rankings in the last opinion polls were there. Also, you know that in the next 1 hour or so, we'll have the second debate that will be featuring Polyki Kap Igade of the Jubilee Azimio Coalition, and of course, Johnson Sakaja of UDA, so stay tuned for that. But meanwhile, my analysts on standby, they've been keenly following the action here at the Catholic University of Eastern Africa. And Professor Odoti, I want to actually start with you with that same question that I began with. Who showed up? And in your view, who should have stayed at home this evening?
Actually, I think for me, except for Haman, the rest should have stayed at home.
The rest should have stayed.
The rest should have stayed at home.
You need to quantify that.
I think if I said at the start that if you are a French candidate, you need to leave an impression on people, and you need to be very clear about what you say. You're given 1 minute, talk about the real issue. I struggled to find what the real issue on each of them were. Starting with Nancy, I think Nancy's real issue that stands out for me is her ideas about getting all tribes to fight corruption, that bring everybody together, then corruption is fought. As a friend of mine would say, nonsense on stilts.
Prof, let me cut you there, because I'm told one of the candidates for the next debate is actually expected here any minute now. Polycarp Igathe. And so let's hear from Leila Mohammed now, who's on standby with that update.
Well, Wahiga, it's been 90 minutes full of debates and engagement around the capital city. That is Nairobi. That was the first debate. The second one is incoming in the next few minutes. And those two gentlemen who are expected in this second tier of the debate are already in this vicinity of the Catholic University of Eastern Africa, Kwea, here at the Langata campus. We are aware that Polycarp Igathe of the Jubilee Party and the Azimio One Kenya Alliance is already here. He is expected to drive into this red carpet area any moment. Now, as you can see, this is an entire team of the media representation awaiting this arrival. Those two gentlemen above the 5% capacitation of this polling that was done before this criteria was brought into the fore. Four have already been taken through questions in the first year of this debate, and quite an interesting sitting there where matters at the heart of the residents of this beautiful county of Nairobi have been undertaken, from unemployment, from the question of living within the city, from the issues around garbage, the stinking issues of garbage in the city, and the prospects of making good money around the county of Nairobi are matters that are quite at the center and the heart of the people who call Nairobi home. Remember, Nairobi doesn't live in isolation. It is not an island. It is supported by 4 other counties and towns. Across those other counties are also considered the bedroom states of Nairobi County, and in totality, about 9 million people live, work and do business around the capital city. That is County 047. So we are keeping an eye on the lights. This is where the introductory session will be, and the gentleman of the moment will be driving down any moment now. Wahiga and your panel, you've been discussing around what are some of the expectations of the voters who are expected to come here and listen to the people who want to replace Anne Kananu as the 4th governor of the county of Nairobi. This gentleman who is driving in any time now is no stranger to City Hall, having served for 6 months in 2017 as the deputy governor of the county of Nairobi. This under the Sonko administration, having to leave office. Those are some of the questions that were undertaken in this first debate. And as I'm being told by my director, the team is walking down into the red carpet area where we'll be receiving them. Myself and Francis Geshuri from Citizen Television will be taking them through the initial questions. How do they feel? Looking at how they have adorned themselves. Are they ready for this debate? This debate will be undertaken by NTV's Mark Masai as well as KTN News' Zubeida Kananu. It will be a double language interview, and they will have 90 minutes to explain to the people of Nairobi County, and indeed the 47 counties that depend on Nairobi in interconnectivity in one way or the other, on why they are considered the best candidate for this beautiful city of Nairobi. Francis, it's been an emotional afternoon this evening. The expectations are quite high. The gentlemen at the back of our hands really going through the paces. They are the people who call the shots for the media houses. They are the think tank behind this special broadcast that is coming to you live online, on radio, on television. Wow. Anywhere you're looking at us, you're seeing this special debate. What are their expectations as the people behind this initiative?
Absolutely, Leila. Breaking the newsroom boundaries today. No particular station, no competition, no nothing. Just bringing Kenyans an opportunity, giving Kenyans an opportunity to hear, see, engage the guys who want to be governors of Nairobi. And there you can see, as you rightly put it, Leila, you can see Polycarp Igathe,
and
the
his
Jubilee
team.
candidate, and his team. I can see from afar Rachel Shebesh, the Senate candidate of the Azimio team, Edwin Sifuna. And let them come over. Here is the red carpet.
Good evening, sir. Welcome to Kwea.
Welcome. How does it feel to be here?
It feels very good. It's a cool
Nairobi evening, and thank you very much for having us.
You look quite sharp. You're smartly dressed. Are you having any goosebumps today?
Absolutely not, especially when I'm flanked by Edwin Sifuna here, our incoming senator, and our leader here, Rachel Shebesh. We're very, very proud to be here. And good evening, Nairobi.
The transition from running mate in 2017 to gubernatorial candidate in 2022, how does it feel for you?
It feels exciting, and I really thank our party, Azimio la Umoja, for earning me the ticket, and for the people of Nairobi for the confidence they have shown, the excitement to our ticket, and we want to assure them we shall not let them down, and we are here to tell them what we are going to do for them, and how we are going to do it, and how we are going to do it together.
Without preempting what my colleagues Mark Masai and Zubeida will do, what are your expectations in this debate?
I just expect that we shall show the maturity of the Republic of Kenya, especially in Nairobi. This is Kenya's sitting room, and people behave very well in the living room. So we are going to show maturity. We are going to demonstrate that we are truly ready to serve.
Shebesh, why would your company gather here? Why not allow him to be here and watch on TV?
Well, I am leading the campaign for Azimio in Nairobi under the Azimio umbrella, and therefore I am here to not only lend my support, but to just assure Nairobians that Azimio is the team, and it is a team effort. It's not only about the governorship, because we know that without the role of the senator who oversees that body, which is the devolved government of Nairobi, that also we don't have a complete team. So I am here to just say that as Azimio, we are very proud that we have a governor incoming who is sharp and brilliant, and I think the people of Nairobi today will see why we chose Igade.
Sifuna, there is not senator debate, absolutely, but umedandia pia.
Sijadandia, you know that in the event the people of Nairobi are gracious enough to give me the position of senator, I am going to be oversighting this gentleman who would be elected governor. We want to hear from them and know, as the office of the senator, that what they are proposing represents the best use of the resources for the people of Nairobi. We have campaigned together, we know the issues that the people have raised, and we believe that we have the best solution as Azimio. I am actually very proud to work with my governor candidate, because he's a credible candidate. He's somebody who starts off with credibility, and we're hoping that he will demonstrate to the rest of the county that in fact our ticket represents the best ticket for the governorship.
Asante sana, we allow you to proceed. Asante, karibuni sana.
And feel free, that has been quite an initial discussion, Francis. The Azimio One Kenya Alliance team just being introduced to the media team here as they take on the red carpet. Waihiga, let me take it back to you with your panel. You've seen how the Azimio One Kenya Alliance team has come full throttle, and they are hoping that this will be the debate that will turn the 25% of undecided voters towards their side as we await the UDA candidate Johnson Sakaja.
Indeed, Leila, I believe the term political entourage was exemplified there with the team that has flanked Polycarp Igade, Azimio One Kenya candidate for the Nairobi gubernatorial seat. He had some interesting things to say about the kind of politics he's hoping for, mature, and we'll be discussing some of the statements that he made there together with his team, with my panel. But first things first, we've had another debate that's just ended. What are the immediate reactions from some of the candidates that had to face those moderators there for the last 90 minutes or so? Let's hear from Beatrice Gatonye on the other side. Beatrice.
Asante sana Wahiga Mwaura pamoja na wachanganuzi hapo, na bila shaka wenzetu upande ule mwingine. Kama jinsi ambavyo umesikia, Polycarp Igade tayari amewasili katika eneo hili akijiandaa kwenye awamu ya pili ya mjadala huu wa jioni ya leo. Lakini nisiseme mengi, kwenye mjadala wa kwanza wa wawaniaji ugavana katika kaunti ya Nairobi, mengi ya masuala yameweza kujitokeza katika mjadala huo, huku masuala ya maji, masuala ya ufisadi, masuala ya nyumba, masuala ya msongamano wa magari ni baadhi ya masuala ambayo yameweza kujitokeza, huku hawa wawaniaji wakiwaelezea wakazi wa Nairobi jinsi wataweza kukabiliana na changamoto hizi ambazo zinawakumba wakazi hawa. Na ningependa kuungana naye Kenneth Nyamwamu ambaye alikuwa hapo jioni ya leo, ambaye pia anawania kiti cha ugavana tarehe 9 mwezi Agosti. Bwana Nyamwamu, unadhani kwamba umeweza kuwahimiza wapiga kura takriban milioni 2.4 wa kaunti ya Nairobi kukupigia kura, na hasa kuhusiana na swala la ufisadi? Unadhani ulifanya vipi katika swala hilo ukilinganisha na wenzako ambao mlikuwa mkikabiliana nao katika swala hili?
Asante sana. I think Tumeuza sera zetu kwa hii platform, tumeonyesha manifesto zetu, and I feel confident, nimeconvince watu wa Nairobi kuwa I'm the right man for the job. Jambo la pili kwa ufisadi, nitairudia kile nilisema, until tuache kuyumba kwa mambo ya ufisadi, hatutarekebisha anything, hatutadeal na makatel, hatutadeal na watu wanaiba pesa kutoka kwa county. Ile kitu imebaki saa hii ni kunyonga watu wanaiba pesa.
Asante sana na kutakia kila laheri. Natumai wakazi wa Nairobi ambao wanatazama jioni ya leo wataweza kuamua iwapo basi wewe ndiwe utakaye kuwa ukiongoza kaunti hii kwa miaka 5 ijayo. Asante sana kwa muda wako. Ningependa kuungana naye pia wa chama cha Safina ambaye anawania kiti cha ugavana kaunti ya Nairobi, Herman Grewal. Asante sana kwa kujumuika nasi jioni ya leo. Wakazi wa Nairobi wamekuwa wakikutazama jioni ya leo, na wafanyi biashara ndogo ndogo wamekuwa wakisikiza sera zako na jinsi ambavyo utaweza kuwasaidia na kuinua maisha yao. Unadhani kwamba umeweza kuwahimiza wakazi hawa?
So nimesema running mate yangu anafanya kazi na KCB kwa SME department. Mimi nataka kusaidia kila mtu. Kama wewe ni mtoto ya Sky ama wewe ni mtoto ya mechanic, nitasaidia wewe, kwa sababu mimi sitaki baadaye ya miaka 20 wewe unakaa hivi. So nataka tubadilisha maisha ya watu wengi kwa Nairobi, na natuma teknolojia ya kisasa, nafundisha watu. Pia nimeleta elimu ya bure. So kama mtu anataka kusoma, tasoma, tapata kazi, tabadilisha maisha.
Asante sana Grewal, na kutakia kila laheri. Naomba nijumuike naye Nancy Mwadime ambaye pia ni mwaniaji wa kiti cha ugavana kaunti ya Nairobi. Takriban wapiga kura milioni 2.4 jioni ya leo wamekuwa wakikutazama pamoja na Wakenya kwa jumla. Swala la uzoaji taka ni swala ambalo umeweza kukabiliana nalo. Ukilinganisha na wenzako ambao mlikuwa mkijadiliana nao swala hili, unadhani umefanya vipi?
Majina langu ni Nancy Wamboi Mwadime.
Naomba tafadhali unieleze kuhusiana na swala la taka, uzoaji taka jijini Nairobi. Ukilinganisha na wengine tu kwa uwepesi, labda unieleze unadhani umefanya vipi, na unadhani kwamba umeweza kumhimiza mkazi wa Nairobi akupigie kura iwapo utaweza kukabiliana na swala hili?
Mimi naona nimefanya vizuri sana, kwa sababu nataka kusema Nairobi kila mfanyi biashara mdogo mkubwa, sisi sote tuko Nairobi na tumekuja na tuko hapa tutafute na tufanye Nairobi ikue pahali tunaweza kaa pamoja na peace.
Asante na kutakia kila laheri. Naungana pia na mwaniaji Esther Waringa, mmoja wa wale ambao walikuwa hapa jioni ya leo. Asante sana kwa kufika. Unadhani kwamba mjadala huu kulinganisha na wengine umefanya vipi jioni ya leo?
Naweza sema nimefanya sawa. I've done well. I've given it my best. And I must say that I can be able to identify with the lowest class of people since I was raised and born in the slums. And at the same time, I'm in business. And I believe that both levels of people, I can identify with them once I'm given a chance to be governor of this Nairobi.
Asante sana Esther, kila laheri. Wakazi wa Nairobi, mmepata fursa ya kutazama awamu ya kwanza ya mjadala wa wawaniaji ugavana katika kaunti ya Nairobi. Tarehe 9 mwezi Agosti tutaweza kuamua mbivu na mbichi na ni nani atakaye kuwa kichukua kiti hicho kutoka kwa Ann Kananu. Kwa sasa ningependa nikuelekeze kwa Wahiga Mwaura ambaye yuko na wachanganuzi jioni ya leo, watueleze kwa undani baadhi ya masuala haya ambayo nimeweza kusema kwamba yameweza kuibuka kwenye mjadala wa kwanza, waweze kuingia kwa undani, kisha baadaye awamu ya pili ya mjadala wa jioni ya leo utakuwa ukingwananga. Wahiga Mwaura, kwako.
Asante sana Beatrice Gatonye. Wacha mimi niendelee na mahojiano yangu hapa na wageni na wachanganuzi wangu. I hope hapo sana. And even as we carry on with our debate here, remember Polycarp Igathe in the building with about another 30 minutes or so to that second debate that will be happening this evening here at the Catholic University of Eastern Africa. We continue watching the clock as we await and anticipate the arrival of the UDA candidate Johnson Sakaja. Remember, it is a two-person debate, both of them having polled 5% or more in the last 3 opinion polls in sort of popularity rankings, and that's a debate that will be hosted by Zubeida Kome of KTN and Mark Masai of NTV. So stay tuned for that one candidate already in the building. He's given his expectations. He's come with his team as well, and they are confident, they are bullish that they have what it takes to put a good showing in the debate. He says he has no goosebumps, no fear. That is Polycarp Igathe, and we now wait for the other candidate to make his way here for that. Of course, we were also reviewing the previous debate. You've heard from those 4 candidates, Herman Grewal there, Esther Waringa Thairu, and Nancy Mwadime, and of course Kenneth Nyamwamu, and my panelists were quickly giving their take on what the first debate was like, as they also dive into what they're anticipating with that second debate. Karen Wakoli, who's to my far left there, can also weigh in on this. Who came out on top? Who made a difference in the first debate in your view, and who didn't?
Wow, so in fact, let me just start where Dr. Odote left off at. He said maybe we should have just had one person show up and the rest should have stayed at home.
I don't know if that's a fair characterization, but please proceed.
Yeah, so for me, I would say I applaud each and every one of those candidates for just showing up. They honored us with their presence. That's really awesome. But some of the things that are critical in terms of just selling yourself as a leader, posture, for instance, I was looking at the posture. I was looking at the outlook. Do those individuals inspire confidence in me as a voter to give them my vote or no? The confidence, ability to communicate and communicate clearly. I was looking out for that. And a few things came out, among all those 4 individuals. Like,
if you had a best communicator award this evening for the first debate, who would you give it to?
You know what? I work for young people. I serve young people. This evening, I am so proud of young people. That when young people are given opportunity, they give their best. Herman did an awesome job. He's a great communicator. He seems to have thought through his ideas and his agenda beforehand. He was outstanding to me, I think. Practical steps in terms of mentoring young people, starting funding mechanisms for young entrepreneurs, digitizing the economy within Nairobi County government. Very practical, salient steps that he wants to take. So I think for me this evening, he stood out.
Prof. Omenya, your reading of the overall quality of debate that was had today. Of course, now, Kenya's not having watched a Nairobi gubernatorial debate at this level before, this being the first time, even as you respond to what the other panelists have had to say. Also, talk about the quality of the debate that you saw.
Yeah, thank you, Waiga. Of course, I'm professor, so I'm forced to issue marks. Okay, let's declare that all the candidates failed, but all, actually.
All failed?
All failed.
What's your marking scheme?
Some came very close. It's 40%. I think Grewal and Nyamwamu scored over 35, and the other 2 ladies did about 20%. This is an issue. I mean, on a serious note, I think none of the candidates thought about any serious issue affecting this city to good depth. Whether you're looking at transport, whether you're looking at housing, whether you're looking at small business, it was all very shallow, all very, very trivial. When it came to governance issues and even the politics of the city, relationship between national and county government, again, you could not see any candidate understand how government runs, how the politics of the cities worked, and how they'll weave their way around it. But one of the reasons why I failed them is that none of them came out with any interesting idea. They're recycling old ideas and in a very, very shallow way. Across board.
You don't think a border app for the whole county?
And 3D printing of homes to reduce costs. And I mean, they're all... You see, the truth of the matter is that you ask yourself, from what planet do these people come from? My point is that we were hoping that at least a candidate, we're hoping that these are fringe candidates with very specific agendas from their parties, be it agenda around youth, be it agenda around business and so on. And what I would have really wanted to see was a candidate at least pick one issue and run away with it, whatever issue it was really.
And you did not see that?
And across board, I mean, I did not see anything, be it from transport, be it SMEs, be it revenue generation.
You didn't see even?
No, none.
Okay.
Zero.
Okay.
Wow.
Philip, before I come to you, Wanjiro, can you really go deep in 2 minutes?
I don't think, well...
Are we being overly unfair?
Well, I'm definitely not going to be as strict as Professor there. I come from a civil society perspective, an inclusion perspective, and my view is quite different. I think it's great that they put themselves forward. I think in time we are going to get more serious candidates, and I think it's a reflection on the parties in a way. I think in terms of Herman Grawal, the ideas he put forward may not be necessarily new. I think in terms of technology, some very good ideas, maybe not new earth-shattering, but that goes to show that we have an implementation gap because we have loads of good policies that aren't implemented. So don't blame the candidates for not having new ideas, because we are not lacking new ideas. What we wanted here is to have a more convincing kind of a manifesto. And I felt that Herman Grawal, as a youth, presented himself very well. I think he executed his points very well. His closing was excellent. He brought in his party. He brought in his party leadership. And listening to him, I could see if he stays this course, you can see a leader in the making. Having said all that, I do think there is a need for candidates to start at a level that, to find their level. You want to build your political name and your capital. MCA is a very valid position, and I just felt there were good ideas, good intent. It was more like a public participation session, and I was thinking it would be great if these people put themselves forward for MCA and show a commitment to political change.
We invited them for a debate, not a public participation
in terms of
session. But
yes, the level of contribution was more of a public participation session, and I think the level of contribution also means they should start, if I'm going into a job, I start at my entry level and build up.
Okay.
You don't go to the top without the credentials. So yes, a bit of reality. I think the last thing is, in terms of the no-shows, Agnes Kagore hasn't been doing too badly in terms of the polls. She may lose out by not showing up, and we may see Herman Grawal really gain from being here. And then, of course, the issue of skeletons. When you put yourself forward for political office, your skeletons will come out, and you could lose very badly, and it could affect even your private and personal life. So, yes, do your homework on all fronts.
Okay,
yeah.
Philip, let me allow you to win, but I'm told we'll also be hearing from Francis Gachuri shortly as well. But Bonakisia, was there any highlight for you this evening?
Well, I think, first of all, let me join my colleagues in congratulating those who turned up for the debate.
That's your first
I think it's only fair, yes, because you must be brave to present yourself in such a high-level debate. But if you ask me, if I were to mark, I'm not a professor, but I mark exams, I would mark them 3.5 out of 10. Okay?
All of them?
All of them. 3.5 out of 10, some will get even 1. Apart from, I think it was Kenneth and Herman, they probably score about 3.5. All right? And just as Wanjiru said, I think you need to know where your place is.
Okay.
At a point,
Philip, I may need to interrupt you for a developing event here at the Catholic University of Eastern Africa. I'm told Johnson Sakaja is in the premises. And there we go. Francis Gachuri has that update for us. We've been waiting for this, Gachuri.
Absolutely, Wahiga, and good afternoon to you once again. Johnson Sakaja, the UDA candidate, is within the premises, just like Polycarp Igathe was a short while ago. He should be walking down this route shortly, so that we can also get an opportunity.
So, Gachuri, we are expecting the Senator of Nairobi County, the current senator who is expecting to become Nairobi's fourth governor, Johnson Sakaja of UDA, who we are aware is already in the vicinity. Less than 5 minutes ago, Polycarp Igathe arriving here with an entire entourage of people and personalities who believe in his wisdom. We are just hoping that Sakaja has already been accredited and will be walking in a similar fashion to how how his competitor and co-debater will be received. This turning out to be quite an interesting evening. We were expecting that this debate was going to happen at 7:30. Now we're hoping for it to begin at 8 p.m. For another 90-minute round of questions and answers. Some of the questions being undertaken in the first debate, inclusive of insecurity, unemployment, the cost of unga, traveling around the city. How does the city look like? Why is it important to this country that is Kenya? The gentleman expected to walk into this red carpeted area is no stranger to politics of Nairobi, having served as a senator for the last 5 years.
Absolutely.
Why is it important for him to be here today to try and convince Nairobians as the best candidate for governor?
Absolutely, Leila. And just a short while ago, Professor Philip Kaloki, he's a running mate to Polycarp Igathe, just walked in. We're waiting to see Sakaja. As soon as we are able to do that, we'll be able to inform our viewers that Sakaja is around. But the wait and see continues for now. Remember, he's been a nominated member of the National Assembly and senator for 5 years, representing Nairobi County in the Senate, the bicameral parliament, the National Assembly and the Senate. So he has been a representative of Nairobi County in the Senate, county number 047. So, Wahiga, let me hand it back to you. As soon as we spot Sakaja, definitely we'll be able to tell our viewers and just get to hear what he has to say insofar as this debate is concerned. Back to you, Wahiga.
Thanks so much, Gashuri and Leila. I must warn you, it's getting a bit chilly here in our Studio B, but that debate coming up in the next 30 minutes is expected to heat things up. Already in the building, Polycarp Igathe, the Azimio candidate with his team and his running mate, Professor Philip Kaloki. We're expecting Johnson Sakaja, the UDA candidate, with his, hopefully also with his running mate, James Mushiri, also to make their way here shortly. So in case I have to interrupt my guest to take you to that, I will do so that you don't miss any of this action on this live coverage across all stations, both TV and radio as well. Wanakisia, you are giving us your marking scheme, and also feel free now to begin to wade into the next debate. Everyone focused on those two.
Yeah, okay. Now, of course, my colleagues have said a lot about the debate which has just ended. But I think the candidates who are here were very casual. They didn't seem to understand the issues. They didn't provide any solutions. They kept on repeating what we've heard before. There were no new ideas. And if you ask me, I think they should receive a bill. They should receive an invoice for consuming prime time.
And here you are saying I was harsh.
For consuming prime time. And not giving us value. But not giving us value.
However, they may have engaged researchers. It's not easy.
No, we must be brutal. We must be brutal. So they knew they were coming for debate.
What are your expectations?
They knew they were coming for debate. They should have done their homework. There was no homework. Let's play. I'm sorry. So they get 3. Some of them get 1. But that is a warning shot to Honorable Sakaja, who is coming here.
Yes.
And Polycarp Igathe. I hope you're prepared.
Exactly.
Otherwise, again, we'll mark you properly.
How different do you anticipate, and tell me this briefly, the level of debate, the type of questions you now expect to hear in the next debate as compared to the one we just came out of?
You see, I think this is it was chance play. Now,
you don't need to belabor that point. These are adults
the level now we are getting to, you know, we know we'll be hard tackles. We expect to deal with policy. We expect them to address the issue of strategy. We expect them to tell us how they are aligning Nairobi's vision and their tactics to Vision 2030. We expect them to tell us how they intend to do things given the